Hello everybody, Mike Nelson, CEO, Efficient Lending Incorporated, coming to you with a wonderful presentation on the current supply and demand kind of dynamics happening in the market today. In this presentation, all the data, all the source, all the analytics comes from MBS Highway, Barry Habib and his team. And just Google Barry Habib and you'll see that really MBS Highway is they are the de facto experts on all things mortgage real estate financing related to the United States. So my credibility source on this data, I just didn't come up with it. It is sourced and credible, reliable information. But look, the motivation for this presentation to come out is, now I'm seeing and hearing really interesting things in the marketplace right now. I'm hearing a lot of buyers saying, hey, we're going to wait because the prices of homes are going to come down, fearful of a market crash, things of that nature. And if you're a real estate agent watching this, look, we've got a responsibility to really understand how supply and demand is working in the marketplace so we can best assist our customers. And if you're a buyer or an investor, you really have to understand this dynamic as well, because you really want to understand what's happening in the marketplace and what we can expect. And I can assure you that the spoiler alert on this is, look, we have a very strong, robust housing market. Is it going through change right now? Certainly. Has demand cooled a little bit because of the rise in interest rates? Well, of course, one would think that. But do we have a strong, robust, stable housing market? And the answer really has to be yes. And so we want to look at why that is. So let's start on the demand side of the supply-demand kind of discussion. And let's look at housing formation, which is a big contributor to demand. So housing formation would be new people coming into the housing market. Think, maybe recent college graduates, creating household formations as they leave mom and dad or wherever they're living and start entering the workforce. Or think about it, changes in families, partners, husbands, wives, things of that nature, splitting up. God forbid, I'm not wishing that, obviously, but you would have one house and now you've formed two. So we can see through history from 2005, you can kind of see what the average is, and you can see right now that we're at 1.4 something odd million annual household formations. So we have a very strong demand coming in on the housing side. Well, let's flip the coin and look at the supply side. Most people will start and look at the housing starts number and say, that's the number we're going to use to combat supply. But we got to hold on a second here. So we're doing about 1.7 million annual housing starts. About 100,000 homes get destroyed in the United States annually, and that's terrible, obviously. So we got a new supply of about 1.6 million homes. But if you really look at how we look at housing starts, we got to look at completed houses, because just because a house is started, we don't know when it's going to finish, and it certainly isn't inhabitable when it's just started. So we're finishing about 1.3 million homes a year. You take out the destroyed homes, and then you look at the household formations, and you can see that we're actually operating at about a 200,000 unit deficit. And so clearly the supply is not meeting the demand as it relates to household formations right now. And then if we look at home inventory, you can see that we are at record low home inventories right now. And yes, currently we're hearing things anecdotally in the market that inventory is coming back. And it certainly is right now. Demand has certainly slowed a bit because of the rise in interest rates. But you can see the peak that we're seeing right here in the inventory, the improvement, but it's really something that happens every year, and you can kind of see it in this trend here. And that's really because it's that springtime buyers, a ton of houses are sold, inventory comes up, families are moving, people are moving to start school and things of that nature. But the overall trend from at least 2018 till now is you can see that our home inventory really is at historic lows. So we've got a lot of demand, and our supply is waning. And if you look at the existing home inventory, so we've got about 100,000 existing homes right now in inventory for sale, listings. And of those, 100,000, you got 1 million active listings right now, and about 60% or 600,000 of those are under contract. Well, we can't include that in inventory if it's under contract, obviously. So we really have about 40% of the market, or 400,000 homes in supply against a very, very strong demand. And if you look at the active listings in the United States since back from January of 2017, you can see the downward trend. You can see where a historic low was earlier this year, and now just because of the springtime to summer trending, we're only 33,000 units from that lowest point in history. So you can see that we have just not enough supply to meet the demand. And then if you kind of throw on top of that vacancy rates, you really have a pretty challenging situation. We are at near all-time historic lows, or at historic lows on the vacancy rates. And look, the sellers know that their vacancy rates are at all-time historic lows, and so they have less reason to negotiate price, to move price, things of that nature. However, and I just want to mention it again, we do know that some of those listings that we're seeing price reductions on listings and things of that nature. We're starting to see that come back, and that is, of course, due to the rise of the interest rates. But we don't want to confuse a reduction in a listing price to a housing crash or a home not appreciating in value, because clearly these homes are going to appreciate in value for the very reason that the supply is not meeting the demand. And so I personally was never a fan of these massive appreciation levels that we'd seen, 20%, some communities 30% year over year appreciation levels, because it's not good for a healthy, long-term, sustainable market. We're seeing some of those appreciation levels come down, but really we're still going to have home appreciation. And so we want to walk through some of these dynamics, the supply, the demand issues, because if we're sitting and just waiting to get into the market because we think prices are going to be cheaper, they're really not. You may be able, if you're a buyer, to negotiate better terms, more favorable terms, maybe a price reduction. But the value of the home, what you pay for it, is certainly going to increase, at least in the short run, because of our current supply and demand dynamic. All right, I hope that information helps. And listen, I'd love to continue the dialogue. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's great too. We can chat about that. But hopefully that information helps. As always, thank you for watching my content. Feel free to call me anytime. I would love to chat with you. Have a great summer and a great finish to 2022.